Hello everybody, Merry Christmas. I know it's Sunday, but hey. This is the Doctor Who Christmas special review. It's the 4th Christmas special for David Tennant, the 10th Doctor. It's the next Doctor. So, no television companion, of course, because it's a new series. Let's go over the plotline itself. The Doctor arrives in Victorian London and immediately hears somebody calling on the Doctor. And the Doctor meets up with somebody who he thinks initially is the next incarnation of him. And a bit of adventure between him and the other Doctor, trying to stop a cyber shade from getting loose around London. There's a bit of a chase sequence. They get dragged along on their bums through a warehouse floor. It's quite a fun little adventure. And then the whole story about the fact of the Doctor, the new Doctor, has trying to explain to our Doctor about the situation that he's found himself in, how he's lost memories, and how he's trying to find out the mystery of the disappearance of a man called Jackson Lake. It soon becomes apparent throughout the story that Jackson Lake is actually the new Doctor that we're talking about here, and what's happened is that an info stamp from the cybermen has gone into his brain and put all the memories of the Doctor into it, because the Cybermen have an info stamp here. The reason why the Cybermen have an info stamp, these are the Cybermen that have been stuck in the void. They've managed to pop back out in Victorian London. There's not much technology, so they have to use info stamps to get the information they need to upgrade and get data transferred. They've been working with a workhouse governess called Miss Hartigan, who is planning for revenge for all the mistreatment that all the nasty men have done over the past few years. And the way it is contrite, I'm not going to turn around and say otherwise for that. And she plans to help the Cybermen build a Cyber-King, which is a big interstellar vehicle which is used to help destroy planets. They ultimately do that in a kind of steampunky way, and Hartigan becomes the brains of the Cyber-King. But the Cybermen think that Hartigan will be taken over. As it turns out, she has enough self-control and will to partially take over herself, and ends up controlling the Cybermen off the back of it. The Doctor and Jackson find out the plan. They end up utilising what Jackson calls his TARDIS, which is a hot air balloon. The Doctor uses that to use a dimension cannon to take the Cyber-King out of Victorian London back into the void. And ultimately, at the end of it, he gets a round of applause and Jackson invites him to Christmas dinner. So that's your story, that's your plot synopsis. Let's go through the characters, have a quick chat about them. We've got, of course, the Doctor, played by David Tennant. This is the Doctor post-Donna. This is the first of the specials, the 3 specials that we have up till the end of time, which is next year's Christmas review. And we've got a Doctor who's all the traits of the happy-go-lucky Doctor, with the intelligence there. You've got the elements of the Doctor being the hero, when he's fighting against the Cybermen when they're in that house of the vicar that dies, because they're trying to find out information about the Cybermen and where Jackson Lake is and everything else. I love the fact that the 10th Doctor kind of accepts that this might be another incarnation of him, but starts to kind of suss out rather quickly that maybe Jackson Lake isn't all he is meant to be, because there's elements that are said, like there's the sonic screwdriver, which is just a screwdriver that makes a noise. You've got the TARDIS, which is a hot air balloon, and he kind of realises rather quickly that Jackson Lake is not maybe the Doctor. He's just a man, a human. And quite nicely alluded to all the way through that could be the case. It's interesting how it all works, and I think Tennant plays it as strongly as ever. It's a mix of all the elements of the Doctor that you want. It is a Christmas episode. It is quite light in its tone sometimes. It doesn't have all the dark emotional bits of the 10th Doctor. You do get that a bit more in the next 2 specials, but this one is more the light-hearted and fun-loving 10th Doctor. There is that kind of intensity there when he's fighting against the Cybermen near the end, but the whole idea of the Doctor's character being given a chance is there again. That kind of whimsical second chance that the Doctor seems to give to all his enemies in this incarnation is really nice to see. Overall, I do like the way that David Tennant plays the part. As always, he's a great Doctor overall, and this is certainly one of his stronger performances. We've then got David Morrissey, starring as the other Doctor, or Jackson Lake, as we revealed him to be. He takes on quite a few of the traits and the role of the Doctor that we know, the present incarnation of the Doctor, the kind of superhero. He's a bit more pantomime kind of Doctor, but it works quite well. And David Morrison plays it quite well from the situation when the Doctor realises that Jackson's in a fugue state. There's been a big tragedy that's happened, which is revealed to be the Cybermen have killed his wife and taken his child away. I think it's quite a nice little overall development of a character, nice little emotional punch. David Morrissey plays it really well, really nicely. I think it's quite a nice little production in that respect when it comes to the character. I do quite like it. We then have Dervla Kirwan playing Miss Hartigan. She is the token enemy, but I don't know, there's a stereotype to the characters. There's nothing wrong with Dervla Kirwan's portrayal of the role, but this kind of bitter woman kind of trope, it wouldn't sit that well nowadays, I don't think, in Doctor Who. I think this kind of caricature of a bitter woman is kind of slightly different nowadays. It works for what it is, but I think the best scene is when she turns up in red and there's kind of like that connotation of her being a harlot, because red wasn't exactly seen as the nicest colour for a woman of standing. I love the whole the way the characters play this kind of evil woman, but it's Rani light, I think is probably the way it put it. The Rani kind of doesn't care, but Dervla Kirwan's Hartigan has that kind of stoic outlook, but there's a lot of revenge there, and she's effectively the nasty plot point. She got Velio Shapalala, and if I say that wrong, my apologies, who plays Rosita. They don't play on the skin colour or anything like that. She's just a character, a London character. They do indicate that she's maybe a maid or some sort of barmaid or something later on, but there's kind of like a balance between them. There's kind of like a nice dynamic between Rosita and Jackson in regards to the way they bounce off each other. Rosita was saved by Jackson early on in Jackson's incarnation, and it's nice to have that kind of description and that discussion with them. And I think it works quite well. I think Velio is actually plays a quite nice little pseudo companion here, which works quite lovely, and it's a nice little takeaway role. It's kind of a plot point to an extent, but it's still an enjoyable one. To be fair, there's not many other characters that have a major part in this story. You've got Paul Casey playing the cyber leader, who's become the standard cyber leader actor to play a Cyberman here. He's like the Michael Kilgareth of the new series. He seems to play all the big roles of the Cybermen since they came back in David Tennant's era. This is the third appearance of the Cybermen, and Paul Casey as effectively playing a big man. We know the voice is done by Nicholas Briggs, and it's no normal Nicholas Briggs Cyberman voice. They seem a bit missing in the muddled up, which is understandable because they've had probably part of the memories wiped from the void a little bit, but they still have that kind of conversion thought pattern behind them. That kind of base thing of the base purpose of a Cyberman is still there, which is really nice. And overall, I think it's a nice little characterization of the Cybermen. They are the big bad of the week, but they're a big bad for a reason. It's not like Nightmare in Silver, which I've just done a review of a few reviews ago, where they're trying to have gimmicks. We've established what the Cybermen are in the Doctor Who universe at this point. These are the Cybermen. These are the ones from the parallel universe. And the way they're established, they're just survivors. It's more the core Cybermen here. They're more trying to survive and make themselves more. And their base programming, the conversion and proliferating the species or making themselves more cyber people is there as the key element to the Cybermen here. And it works for the story. They're not quite glorified plot point, but they are the big bad of the story, which is nice to see. There really isn't much more in characters that stand out for me in this story. It's a kind of lightweight romp, really. It's not quite like Voyage of the Damned. It's not enjoyable. There's not a lot of emotion there in regards to the characters. It is more of a traditional Christmas runaround story. You've got the emotional element here with Jackson Lake, which works quite well. I quite like it. And it's quite warm. And it's certainly good enough for a Christmas episode in that respect. It is give that kind of enough lightness to do it justice. The Christmas episode's always got that kind of that balance of there's still got to be that drama and jeopardy, but it can't be too deep and dark like you do in the normal series. It's got to have that nice kind of fluffy balance. This one does it quite well. It's got a nice balance between the two. But you do get the feeling maybe they're running out of a little bit of steam in regards to what they're doing with the plotting, and there is a bit more sameness in some of the plot lines coming through. Russell T Davies is running quite a bit here in this scripting with tropes that have come before to try and give some immediate, oh, what's this? This is looking magical. The fob watch, there's the stamp, the review of all the Doctor's faces, which is the first time we see in canon of the 8th Doctor in the series since he left, which is interesting, and that info stamp image that comes up. It's interesting how that works and how the plotting is there of these little surprise elements that keep people guessing. But at the end of the day, looking at it multiple times, you can see they're all been planted in quite easily. It's not subtle. You can see it coming rather quickly when you watch it a second or third or fourth time or whatever multiple times you've watched it. But it's still enjoyable to watch. It's not take your brain out, but you can enjoy it, just go all the way through. And I think it works quite well for that. I like the fact at the end you've got everybody cheering on the Doctor and giving applause, because the Doctor never gets that. He just fights on, and Jackson Leitch makes a very good point to make sure the Doctor's appreciated, because I don't think he gets that appreciation a lot. It's the impression that Jackson gets, which is true. He doesn't. The Doctor does his stuff, he walks away, he moves on. He doesn't get the appreciation. It's nice that at the end that Jackson actually gets him to come to Christmas dinner after Jackson's shown the TARDIS a little bit, because the Doctor's really one for moving on. And this whole thing about at the end where the Doctor says that all the companions who leave or go or disappear, they all break his heart, is really lovely. And I like that. I like that little emotional moment at the end. So there are some nice little points in there like that one that come through. Overall, I do like this story. I think it works quite well. It's a Christmas story. You've got to take that into consideration when you do this. Once you take that into consideration, it's actually quite an enjoyable romp. I actually like watching this story. I think it's quite fun. The whole action adventure at the beginning, then the darker emotional second act, and then the more swashbuckling hero element of the third act. It does work quite well. I quite like it for that. The direction is quite standard by Andy Goddard. It's just quick-paced direction. It works quite well. It isn't inoffensive. It's kind of two cuts and close-ups and things like that when you need it. It's standard fare. There's nothing really cinematically lovely about it. It's kind of standard recorded fare for this time. There's nothing really cinematically beautiful of it. There's nothing that's really thought out outside the normal standard filming practices. It's directed well enough. The characters are done well. The lighting and the costuming is quite well. Russell T Davies's writing's quite cool. It's basic plotting. It's something that he's probably got in his head, and he's got a pattern. You can tell it's a pattern of a formula that Russell T Davies is working to. The Doctor arrives in the situation. There's a kind of twist in the story. We find a bit more of the machinations of the big bad, and then he resolves it at the end. And that's kind of how Russell T Davies' stories are working at this point with these specials. The music of Murray Gold, inoffensive. Lovely musical motifs here, especially the bits with the fight with the Cyber King. I think that works quite well. Overall, I think it's not a bad little story. I quite like it. It's enjoyable enough, and the Christmas element kind of heightens it a little bit for me for its ratings. Overall, I'd give this a rating of 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. So how does this story stack up with the rest of the David Tennant stories I've reviewed so far? And how does this story stack up with the rest of the stories I've reviewed overall for the TV series? So, the next Doctor sits in with two other Christmas specials, The Christmas Invasion and The Runaway Bride, as well as Tooth and Claw on 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. At the bottom is The Idiot's Lantern and 42 with 3 TARDISes out of 5, and at the top is Turn Left and Voyage of the Damned with 4 TARDISes out of 5. Overall, there are two stories that I've got 2 TARDISes out of 5. They are, of course, Sleep No More and Time Lash. And at the top are still 6 stories with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. They are The Happiness Patrol, Inferno, The Day of the Doctor, The Case of Androzani, The Tomb of the Cybermen, and Dalek. That's it from me. What do you think of the next Doctor? Leave a comment down below. Do you like it? Leave a comment down below. Do you not like it? Leave a comment down below. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and share it with the hashtag teamstructor. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out. General rule, new video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT, and yes, I have a Christmas Day upload. Hey! Hopefully it's what I think it is. Fingers crossed it's Kids Doctor. If not, there is something else coming on. You'll see it when it comes up. I'm not quite sure at this point. I'm recording these videos and reviews quite a bit ahead. But apart from that, if you want to help support the channel a little bit more, you can go to the Patreon at patreon.com/Deanstructor. For as little as £1 or $1 a month, you can help support the channel. There are 3 tiers at the moment. Level 1 Teamstructor, you get a name check at the end of the video on the title card. Level 2, you get the name check, plus you also get at least a week in advance the videos that will be uploaded onto the channel. And level 3, you get the 2 other perks, but you also get extra videos. There's 3 at the moment, 3 Constructors, Rainbow X-Rated, and 2 reviews I've done with Arthur, which you're not able to put on YouTube at the current time. So they're all available for you to view on the Patreon at patreon.com/Deanstructor. That's it from me. As I say, I'm back on Sunday with a Christmas upload. Should be a Kids Doctor, fingers crossed it all works out. If it isn't, ooh, big surprise for you, big Christmas surprise. But until then, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.